Hey guys, it's Laura Mudo here and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please like, share and subscribe. Anyway, on today's topic, I'll be talking about AI. AI meaning artificial intelligence. So over the course of this past week, I've been literally obsessing over watching like planes that had an emergency landing, planes that crashed unfortunately, planes that had malfunctions while during the course of the flight. So that is all I've been watching. Okay, in the over I think it was last year, but that was one of my obsessions. I would watch that literally all day in my free time. But actually over this past week I've gotten back to my okay, I'm not going to call it passion. I've gotten back to my favorite favorite hobby during my free time because of this story that just happened recently over the week, whereby this Kenyan pilot who is a lady, flew her plane under bad weather conditions and was able to land it really well and safely, guys. I have unfortunately forgotten her name, but I do remember that she's the wife to the SportPesa CEO. So they must be doing really well. Anyway, so yeah, that is what fueled back my passion, quote unquote. These documentaries that I've been watching really got me thinking, is AI really a good thing? Is AI really like really a good thing, or could it be like a looming disaster, guys? Because most of the plane malfunctions and failures and all that have partly been caused by human error, but also AI, because as some of you may know or may not know, most of the planes are flown on purely autopilot. Like, guys, the pilots rarely fly the planes. Like, they mostly fly the planes on autopilot. Autopilot means that, like, it's like the plane has already been programmed, like the route it's going to use, what is it's going to do when it reaches a certain place, what things like that. Like, literally the pilot is just there just in case an emergency happens, and the autopilot fails, the pilot then is going to take manual control of the plane. So that is how most, I'm not saying all, but most of the planes are flown. They are flown on autopilot. And so I would say, it got me thinking, like, is this AI thing a really good thing? Because of course autopilot is AI, like it's a computer, so a computer is AI. Like, computer is equals to AI. So yeah, in case you didn't know. So anyway, especially now that that automatic cars are probably going to be there in the near future, because Tesla has already produced automatic cars. It's only that they have not begun being used. Like, they are being used but not on auto control, as in the government has not yet allowed for cars to run purely on auto control. So they're still there, but people are using those cars as manuals. Okay, not manual. I know if you have gone for driving school, there's manual and automatic, but this is not what I mean. Like, auto control means you're not doing anything. Like, literally you're just on the car and the car is driving itself. Like, that is what that means. It does not mean automatic, like automatic cars, manual cars, like that. That is not what it means. It means that when I say a car is auto, it means that you're literally doing nothing, guys. Anyway, away with that. So yeah, it got me thinking, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because, guys, there's some videos that I have watched about plane crashes whereby AI literally confuses the pilots. Because, say, a malfunction has happened on the plane, right? And then the autopilot disengages. Now disengages, and now the pilot has to fly on manual, right? So the pilot takes manual control, begins like trying to save the plane, like to return the plane in its normal position, whatnot. And then the autopilot, maybe what was causing the malfunction and what caused the autopilot to disengage has been fixed automatically by the plane, and now the autopilot has returned, as in has engaged back to the plane. So at this particular moment, the pilot is confused because the pilot does not know if this autopilot is showing the correct readings, or it's still under malfunction. Am I making sense? As in, say something was broken, right? And then it fixes itself. So when you're with that gadget, you'll still be wondering, is this gadget okay, or are these readings that this gadget is giving still wrong because it had malfunctioned just some minutes ago, guys? And you know what, at this particular moment, you are literally so high above the ground, you do not have time to figure out, oh my goodness, is this gadget working, is it not working? So some, or if not most of the plane crashes that I have watched, or missing planes, or plane malfunctions that I've watched, most of them have been because the pilot is confused whether the autopilot is correct or the autopilot is just tripping, you know. And you know, while you're on air, you do not have time to think. Like literally, the plane is going down in like I don't know how many minutes, so you have to like figure something out. So there are some pilots who manage to save their planes. There are some pilots who unfortunately were not able to save their planes, you know, because they're literally confused, guys. They don't know what to do, especially when you hear the black box. The black box is a box which records the final minutes of a plane. Like it's usually on the cockpit, and then like you can hear, even when the plane crashes, the black box does not get destroyed, it's still saved, like so that people who are going to investigate the crash are able to know what was happening on the cockpit while the plane was crashing, so that they may be able to prevent future crashes. So yeah, even on the black box, you usually hear like pilots confused. They're like, wait, this autopilot is reading this, but as we are thinking, say the autopilot is showing you're way above sea level, but you yourself, you're thinking you're not that high. You're thinking maybe you're, say the autopilot is saying you're this high, but you guys are thinking you're this high, or vice versa. Maybe the autopilot is saying you guys are going down, but the pilots are thinking the plane is going up. So by the time the pilots realize that the autopilot is actually telling the truth, they usually have already crashed, like or they just realize when they're just about to touch the sea. That's when the pilots realize we are the ones who are making the mistake. It's not the autopilot that has an error, guys. So I don't know. So that is my concern when we began driving automatic cars, fully auto control cars. Maybe you're in a car, right? You're the driver, right? And then all of a sudden this car tells you that there's no fuel in this car and this car is going to stop, right? But you remember that I had already placed full, I had already put full tank on my tire. What do you do at that particular moment? So you wonder like, is this car tripping, or am I the one who's actually tripping, you know? So consider how many accidents that can cause, because if you ignore this AI and it was telling the truth, then you're the one who's going to be in trouble. But if you do not ignore it and go for the first time and you find that the AI may have malfunctioned, okay, that is one time. The second time maybe that happened. Now the third time you're going to ignore it and maybe it's telling the truth, you know? So yeah, it got me thinking, are we really safe? But on that note, it's not that at especially in planes, it does not mean that most AI like do not function well. They actually function well, but there's still this percentage that still malfunctions, you know. And another thing, training pilots on purely autopilot makes pilots kind of forget how to fly. Say 10 consecutive trips you have been using purely autopilot. If on the 11th trip an emergency happens and the autopilot disengages, is this pilot really going to know how to control this car? The same thing with cars. Or with, is this pilot going to know how to control this plane? You know, that's also another cause of plane crashes. So the same thing on cars. Say you have an automatic car, a fully automatic car, right? So say you've gone like 30 trips on auto, right? On auto control purely, right? You know, on the 30th or maybe the 50th ride, if something happens and the auto control disengages, do you know you're not going to know how to drive that car very well? Like, you're going to be in a state of panic, and like in that state of panic, say you are in a highway, what is going to happen, you know? Does it mean you're just going to cause an accident? And it's not that you're not a good driver, it's just that you have not been practicing, you know. So yeah, that got me thinking, is where we are headed really the right place? But anyway, of course, AI has a lot of benefits. Like, it makes things efficient, it makes things easy, it is time saving, it's also cheaper on the long run. So yeah, I'm not saying that AI is not a good thing, but it just got me thinking, like, damn, we might really have to learn how to navigate the AI world, and also the manual world. So yeah, just to prevent some accidents. Anyway, guys, if you're a fan of AI, if you're against AI, please comment below, and please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.